Today's lesson is working from home the new way to work? Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today we're going to be talking about the idea of working from home, as a lot of you have experienced, especially during level 3 lockdown procedures that occurred earlier this year. They may be still going on now. I'm not quite sure at the time of this recording, but yes, indeed, in order to stay away from other people so as not to spread the disease or contract the disease, a lot of us have had to work from home.
That's true. And a lot of people really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to work from home, while others really didn't like it because, well, it has a lot to do with one's home environment, whether you live alone or with other people, whether you have children, whether your apartment or your house is big or small, noisy or quiet. So there are a lot of factors to consider when we talk about working from home and whether it's a good or a bad thing. And since it's become a reality, at least a temporary one, who knows whether it's going to be permanent later on, it's something that people are debating right now, especially companies, because they're wondering, should we allow our employees to work from home at least part of the time from now on?
It's a good question, and we'll try to answer this question in our lesson today and in our lesson tomorrow. So let's talk about this wonderful topic. Let's dive right into it and listen to the first part, and we'll come back to discuss it.
Is working from home the new way to work? During the COVID-19 pandemic, many offices around the world shut their doors and sent their employees home to work remotely. As time passed, working from home seemed like the new reality, and both employees and employers were left wondering what this situation would mean for the future of work. Is working from home just a temporary arrangement, or could it be here to stay?
大家好，第一部分我们看到片语 here to stay， 表示已被普遍接受或是广为流行。例如 I thought that high-waisted jeans were just a trend.But it looks like they are here to stay. 我以为高腰牛仔裤只是流行款式，但看起来可能会持续流行一段很长的时间。或是 Although it only started in the 1950s, rock and roll is here to stay. 虽然摇滚乐起自1950年代，它到今天仍然广受喜爱。
So during the COVID-19 pandemic, many offices around the world shut their doors and sent their employees home to work remotely. So that's really what happened last year, much of last year and a part of this year during the pandemic. A lot of companies, a lot of offices worldwide closed their doors. They had to shut down because they didn't want the disease to spread further. And after they shut down their offices, shut their doors to their offices, they sent their workers home to work remotely. To work remotely means to work away from their usual place of work, which is the office.
That's right. So, of course, you may own a drone or something like that to take pictures from the sky or something. So those are controlled remotely. You have a remote control device, and then you can control your drone remotely. But in this particular case, people were working from home remotely. They were away from their office, but they were connected via the internet and were able to work and communicate with their coworkers and stuff like that. So as time passed, working from home, or WFH for short, seemed like the new reality, and both employees and employers were left wondering what this situation would mean for the future of work. So, of course, this COVID pandemic has been going on for a really long time, and lots of people were working at home for days on end or weeks on end or even months on end. So a lot of people are used to it. So we're kind of asking the question, is this going to be the way things will be in the future? Is this going to be the future of work, working from home?
That's right. So the question is working from home just a temporary arrangement, meaning we're just going to do it for now until the COVID-19 pandemic goes away and then we'll all go back to work at the office full time? Or could it be here to stay? So the phrase here to stay means to continue to exist for a long time or to be accepted as normal. Some people say that COVID-19 is here to stay. A while ago, we thought, well, this is just a temporary situation. Once everyone is vaccinated, we'll be able to get rid of this disease, just like we were able to get rid of other diseases and viruses in the past. But some experts say that COVID-19 is actually here to stay. It's not that easy, I should say, to get rid of it.
Yeah, I remember my early days of being in Taiwan. Sometimes people would say, hey, Roger, you're still here. And I said, yeah, even though I said I was just going to stay here for 3 months, I'm here to stay. I'm going to stay here all the way until the day I die because I can't imagine a day without chou tofu. But in this particular case, we're talking about this situation of working at home. And is it here to stay or is it just temporary? And once the COVID-19 virus disappears or at least goes away for the most part, we may simply go back to the office and forget that working from home ever existed. Maybe it will still be here, maybe it won't. That's what we're trying to ask today, and we're trying to answer that question. So let's move on now to the next paragraph and continue to talk about this very subject.
Surveys have shown that the majority of workers would welcome the opportunity to continue working remotely. With technology enabling employees to carry out most of their office duties elsewhere, workers can remain productive at home while enjoying some freedom from their regular 9-to-5 schedule.
第二部分我们看到单字 productive， 这个字是形容词，指有生产力的或是富有成效的、多产的，像是Richard is more productive when he works at home. Richard 在家里工作时生产力较高。或是 We had a productive day in the garden and almost everything has been planted. 我们今天在花园度过很有成效的一天，几乎所有的东西都种好了。
So what do people think about working from home? Surveys have shown that the majority of workers would welcome the opportunity to continue working remotely. So a survey is a questionnaire. It's a study in which a lot of people are asked their thoughts and opinions about a particular subject. So according to these surveys, the majority of workers, or most of the workers, would welcome the opportunity to continue working from home or working remotely.
It might depend on who you're asking, but they took surveys of various people, and it seems that most people would rather work at home than work in the office, okay? They would welcome the opportunity to continue working remotely. I guess the pros outweigh the cons. It's better to work at home than to commute to work, look for parking, miss time while you're stuck in traffic and things like that. So I think most people would prefer to continue working remotely, and with technology enabling employees to carry out most of their office duties elsewhere, workers can remain productive at home while enjoying some freedom from their regular 9-to-5 schedule. This is a pretty long sentence here, but it begins with the word with, which basically means because. Because the first part of the sentence is true, therefore something else happens as a result of that. So because we have this technology and because this technology enables people to carry out most of their office duties elsewhere, at home, or maybe in their car, therefore they can remain productive at home. That's basically what this is saying. So to enable you just means to give you the ability to do something, and you can carry out or do most of your office duties, do research, write reports and stuff like that. You can do that at home. You don't have to be in the office.
Yes, and the word productive here refers to the ability to work hard and to achieve good results and to be able to produce things for your company or for your boss. So, for instance, a lot of people say that people are the most productive in their 30s and 40s. That is the time when they have the most energy to get things done, when they are ambitious. And then when they turn 50, 60, that's when they start slowing down because they want to slow down and smell the flowers, get out of the rat race, and not worry so much about making money and competing with other people, so they are less productive.
Exactly, but people feel they can still be productive at home while at the same time enjoying some freedom from their regular 9-to-5 schedule. So if you're at home, yes, you're working quite a bit, but you are given some freedom when you're working at home. For example, sometimes when I work at home while I'm doing my work on the computer, I also at the same time listen to music, which I suppose you could do in the office anyway, but maybe some bosses would frown on that, or maybe you could make yourself a sandwich, or you could play with a dog or feed the fish, stuff like that. You can have the freedom to do stuff like that. And your 9-to-5 schedule just refers to your basic office job. You go in and you work, and you start from 9 and you work all the way to 5. And some people probably think that's a boring routine. Every day the same thing, 9 to 5, getting stuck in traffic. Oh, this life is so dull.
Yes, 9 to 5 is the standard work schedule in the United States. I think in North America, but I think in Taiwan it's 9 to 6. So in America, when we say 9 to 5, we don't necessarily mean starting at 9 o'clock and ending at 5 o'clock. It just means the regular office work schedule.
Yeah, the job I had before I came to Taiwan was actually 8 to 4, so that's different, but the standard schedule is 9 to 5, and I think that was an old movie starring Dolly Parton many, many years ago. Working 9 to 5, maybe you remember that. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the third part.
However, while working from home may promise greater freedom, it can also deliver the opposite if one fails to separate work life and home life, something that is harder to do when one's working and living spaces overlap. Furthermore, experts have observed that people who prefer working from home tend to be higher income, higher positioned employees. For those on the lower rungs of the corporate ladder, working from home may present obstacles to reaching the top. After all, building interpersonal relationships with one's coworkers is more difficult in virtual meetings than it is in person.
第三部分我们看到动词 overlap 指与点点点重叠或是有共同之处。举例来说 Due to a scheduling error, Mark had 2 appointments that would overlap. 因为日程表安排疏失 Mark 有2个行程重叠了。另外这个字也可以当名词指重叠之处。例如There is a lot of overlap between the 2 candidates' proposed plans for the city. 那2名候选人对于该城市的计划有许多重叠之处。接着我们看到单字 rung， 这个字是名词，指梯级、事业、组织等的级别或是等级。像是 It took Len a long time to climb to the top rung in the organization. Len 花了很久的时间才爬到组织的高层。另外补充一个包含 rung 的片语 move down a rung， 表示降职，社会地位降低。举例来说 Short-term financial troubles will not move you down a rung in socioeconomic status. 短期财务困难并不会让你的社经地位降低。再来我们看到形容词 interpersonal， 意思是人际的或是人与人之间的。像是 The very shy child had trouble with interpersonal relationships,But he loved being around animals. 这名非常害羞的孩子在人际关系上有障碍，但他非常喜爱和动物相处。另外字首 inter 有在点点点之间的意思，以下补充2个同样以 inter 开头的单字。第一 interschool I-N-T-E-R-S-C-H-O-O-L interschool 这个形容词意思是校际的。举例来说We had an interschool basketball competition last weekend. 我们上周末有场校际篮球赛。第二 interaction I-N-T-E-R-A-C-T-I-O-N interaction 这个名词意思是互动。我们可以说 There was great interaction between the two classes for the play. 这两个班级在此戏剧表演中互动良好。最后我们看到单字 virtual， 这个字是形容词，指电脑上虚拟的或是实际上的。像是 The program allows users to create and care for a virtual pet. 这个程式让使用者可以创造及照顾虚拟宠物。或是 That program created a virtual model of the building. 那个程式做出了那栋大楼的虚拟模型。
So a lot of people, according to surveys, welcome the idea of working from home or working remotely. However, while working from home may promise greater freedom, it can also deliver the opposite if one fails to separate work life and home life. So we saw before that working from home can offer some freedom from the regular 9-to-5 schedule. You can get up and make a sandwich, play with your cat while you're finishing the report. So you're not just sitting there all day worried about somebody looking over your shoulder. However, the opposite can also be true. Working from home can also take away some of your freedom because if you're not good at separating work from home life, or if you can't find that balance, then you might end up feeling more trapped or involved in your work than otherwise.
Exactly. So as I said before, there are pros and cons. So indeed, you do have some freedoms to work at home. You can do lots of things, but on the other hand, it could be actually difficult to work at home, especially if you have your family still there, if you live in an extended family and your grandparents are there and your wife is there and they're always nagging you about this or that, or hey, you need to take the trash out now, or hey, you put your shoes in the wrong place. Why are you making so much noise in there? Stuff like that. It may be actually harder to work at home because work and living spaces will overlap. You try to tell people to not bother you because you're working, but you never know who's going to barge into your home office and bother you for things. Can you go to the store and pick up some milk? We're all out.
Right. So you don't want your home life to overlap with your work life or your work life to overlap with your home life. So overlap means when the edges of one thing touches the edges of another thing, or when two things touch each other. But here we're talking about space overlapping because when you work in an office, you have a very clear, well-defined space that is your workspace, your office, and your home space. They are completely separate. But when the two things overlap with each other, they are the same in some respects, then that means work can kind of flow into your home life and your home life can flow into your work life. And that just creates a lot of confusion potentially.
And also we should mention that not everybody can work from home. Here it says, furthermore, experts have observed that people who prefer work from home tend to be higher income, higher positioned employees. So if you're the low man on the totem pole and you're working from home, you may not like it, you may not prefer it, but if you've advanced to a higher position, if you're a manager or something like that, then maybe you would prefer to work at home. People who prefer work from home tend to be higher income, higher positioned employees. So higher income means you're making more money, and higher positioned means, yeah, you're a manager, you're a vice president, or you might even be the boss. And also in this sentence, we have the word furthermore, which is how we continue making points. Also, in addition, furthermore.
Yes, and for those on the lower rungs of the corporate ladder, working from home may present obstacles to reaching the top. So the word rung here refers to a bar or a step on a ladder that you put your feet on to climb up or to come down. So that is the rung of a ladder. Now, we talk about corporate ladder as the ladder that you have to to climb up in order to reach higher positions or to make a higher salary in this company that you work for. The word corporate here is an adjective that relates to large companies. So we can talk about corporate culture as a way to talk about all of the values that a company represents. For instance, Apple Computer's corporate culture is to allow its workers, its employees, a lot of freedom and free time to develop their creativity and to come up with new ideas. So for people on the lower rungs of the corporate ladder, that is people who have not reached managerial positions or who are just starting out in the company, well, these people may not feel comfortable about working from home.
Yep, you're climbing to the top of the corporate ladder. Hope it doesn't take too long. So indeed, if you want to do that, it's probably going to be easier to do that at the office and not at home. It says here it will present obstacles for reaching the top. Obstacles or things that get in your way. After all, building interpersonal relationships with one's coworkers is more difficult in virtual meetings than it is in person. So that's what you want to do if you've got an entry-level position and you want to work your way up the corporate ladder. You can't really do that staring at your computer screen. You need to have interpersonal relationships with people. Interpersonal means person to person, talking to them face to face, looking at their nonverbal signs, their nonverbal cues, the tone of their voice and stuff like that. You really need to be in the same room with those people in order to gain their understanding, in order for them to trust you. Those things just really can't be done through a computer.
That's right. It's important to build interpersonal relationships with your coworkers. So your coworkers are those people that you work with. And it's more difficult to do that when you're in virtual meetings. So a virtual meeting is a meeting that's not face-to-face, but one that is conducted over the internet, over a conference software such as Zoom. And those tend to be awkward because a lot of times what people say and their facial expressions may not come across as the way that they intended them to be. So there's often a lot of miscommunication when meetings are conducted virtually.
So, yeah, those types of situations make it difficult to earn trust from other people. And if we talk about the word virtual, we're talking about a situation that tries to be real, but it just isn't. So this is a virtual meeting. It's on the computer. And yes, indeed, it's best to have your meeting in person. And we're going to continue talking about this topic next time. But right now, we're going to finish today's lesson by listening to Dear Old Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在新冠肺炎疫情期间，许多公司都让员工在居家办公，不过这样的安排是短暂的，还是会持续下去呢？课文第一部分就有一个句子写到 Both employees and employers were left wondering what this situation would mean for the future of work. 好，这边我们要介绍的句型是 leave 加受词加受词补语，它是指任由什么什么处于怎么样的状态中。其中的动词 leave 在这边呢，表示使点点点处于某种状态，而受词补语你可以用形容词、过去分词、现在分词或是介系词片语，像 leave somebody with no choice 使某人别无选择，这时候它就是用介系词片语来当受词补语用。好，如果是以分词来当受词补语，那么现在分词就是表达出受词的主动状态，过去分词就是表达出受词的被动状态。我们来看两个例句哦。I'll leave the front door unlocked. 我不会把前门锁上。好，那这边因为前门它不会自己锁或不锁嘛，所以我们这边是用 unlocked 这个过去分词来当补语。The boat ride left her feeling nauseous. 搭那趟船让他很不舒服，觉得很想吐。 好，那在这边人是自己感觉到不舒服，所以我们这边是用 feeling， 是用现在分词来当补语用。好，我们另外补充一下，我们常常会用 leave somebody wondering 来表达说某人不免想知道怎么样怎么样。那这时候受词跟补语之间是主动关系，所以我们才会用现在分词 wondering 来当补语。而这个用法常常会用在某人他心中仍有一些想法、问题、疑虑等等，那么后面就会去接心存疑虑的事项。像我们课文它用到 both employees and employers were left wondering 怎么样怎么样，就是表达说员工和雇主不免想知道点点点，只是这边它是用被动语态 somebody be left 搭配受词补语的结构去表达的。好，课文第3部分它写到说，在公司位阶位于比较低阶层的人呢，居家办公对他们来说可能会为升迁带来阻碍。文中用到 obstacle 这个字来表达阻碍，我们要帮同学们补充它的字首字根。先看到 OB 这个字首，它有朝向啊，或是在什么上方，或者是反对或是阻碍的意思。那么在 obstacle 这个字当中，它的字首 OB 表示阻挡，字根 STA 表示站立， CLE 是拉丁文名词字尾，站在那边阻挡挡住的东西就是障碍物嘛，所以 obstacle 它就有阻碍啊、障碍、障碍物的意思。我们顺便来补充几个相同字首的单字哦。第一个是 obey， 好，它的字首 OB 表示朝向，EY 是聆听的意思，那么合在一起 obey 就有听从、遵从、服从的意思咯。第二个补充的是 oblige， OBLIGE， 好，它的字首 OB 表示朝向， LIGE 表示捆绑，向着某人把他捆绑起来使他就范，用这样的方式也许可以联想到 oblige 它有迫使或是使什么不得不的意思。第三个补充的是 obscure， 它的字首 OB 表示在上方，那后面加上 SCURE 这个部分表示覆盖，合在一起 obscure 当动词它就有遮掩、遮蔽的意思，或是使什么难以理解。那么当形容词它可以表达含糊不清、难以理解的，它也可以表示是鲜为人知或是无名的。那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Productive. Penny was extremely productive yesterday, but she hasn't done much today. Furthermore, Sheldon has a teaching degree. Furthermore, he has many years of experience. Corporate. We need to update the corporate structure if we want to grow the company. Obstacle. Rachel overcame a number of obstacles to become a professional athlete. Virtual. This website offers visitors a virtual tour of the museum.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.